There's the bell. Soccer is in session. I'm your host, Jason Longshore. As always, Soccer is in Session is presented by Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser Permanente, we care, we advocate, we give, we thrive. Thank you to Kaiser Permanente for helping us cover soccer all over the state of Georgia at all levels. Soccer is in Session digs into soccer in Georgia's schools. High schools play in the spring, the colleges play in the fall. We'll cover all the intersections between the two year-round. You can get this show every Wednesday night, 7 p.m., wherever you get your Soccer Down Here podcasts. Let's get caught up on Tuesday's results and a couple bonus ones from earlier in the week as well. Let's start out. We're going to bounce all over the state. And as we get into the region schedule here coming up, we'll kind of focus in on some region races and group things a little bit geographically. But we're going to bounce all over the state in this non-region portion of the schedule. For the most part, of course, you get a few region games early on as well. Let's start with the Gilmer Bobcats. Their boys team defeated Fannin County 4-2 on Tuesday night. Mill Creek's girls drew 1-1 with North Oconee, while the Mill Creek boys got the 2-0 win to go to 4-0 on the season. Matthias Schwartz had a goal and an assist in the win for the Hawks. Rome's girls went on the road to Paulding County and brought back a 2-1 win. Julissa Lemus had 7 saves in the win for the Wolves, and they named freshman defender Denise Funes Vela as the player of the match. Norcross's girls notched a big 7-1 win over Shiloh last night. 4 goals scored by Cameron Martin in the win for Norcross. Campbell's boys won 2-0 over Alpharetta. Both goals scored by Janan Cheramagic, the prime star for Campbell. Player of the year in Cobb County last year. 2 goals in the win over Alpharetta. Janan Cheramagic. Get used to that one. You might have to practice a little bit like me. I might need a little more practice on that one. We'll get it right for you, Jenon. We're going to see Campbell later on in an SDH high school game of the week. Let's stay in Cobb County as McEachern took a 2-1 win over Osborne last night. Sprayberry's boys defeated South Cobb 4-1 last night. Luis Vielma was named the man of the match with a goal and an assist. Strong week for Midtown's girls. They defeated Decatur last night 6-0. They knocked off Lovett 2-1 on Friday. They are perfect in the year, 3-0. The Midtown Knights killing it so far. Big comeback for Mountain View's boys last night. It ended up in a 4-3 win over North Forsyth. The win keeps the Bears perfect in regular season play at 3-0 ahead of a Friday match against Archer. Mountain View also won the girls' match 2-0 last night. They go to 2-1 on the season. 3-0 win for Eastside's boys at home against Union Grove. In the girls' match, Union Grove almost flipped that exactly. It was a 3-1 win over the Eagles. Copa 985 action last night saw East Hall's boys win 4-0 at home against Flowery Branch. Parkview and North Gwinnett split the results. The Panthers girls won 4-0. The North Gwinnett boys won 1-0. That win for the Bulldogs came from a Logan Collins goal. Will Collins kept the clean sheet for North Gwinnett. Johns Creek's boys took a 2-0 win at home against Northview. Both of those goals came in the second half. Collins Hill, the boys earned a 2-1 win over Discovery through goals from Andrew Cruz and Will Taylor. The Collins Hill girls took a win as well, 10-4 over Discovery. Riverwood's boys won 2-1 over Pebblebrook. Denmark's boys went on the road at Dunwoody and earned a 1-0 victory through Jordan Corhone's goal. Roswell's boys won the rivalry match with Milton 2-0. Both goals came in the second half. Roswell also won in the girls' match 2-1. Columbus's boys remain perfect in 2023, a 3-1 win for them over Pike County. Raul Navarro was named the player of the match for Clark Central in their 7-0 thrashing over Oglethorpe County. The Heritage High School girls from Ringgold won big last night as well, 8-0 over Ridgeland. Sophomore Zoe St. John had a hat trick for the Generals. Big 6-1 win for the Duluth boys at home over Central Gwinnett. Walton and Pope, they traded 2-1 results. The Walton Raiders girls won by that scoreline, while it was the Greyhounds who won the boys match, despite Walton firing off 17 shots in that one. Allatoona and North Paulding drew 1-1 in boys action last night at Allatoona High School. Anna Weir's 4 goals led the North Paulding Lady Wolfpack to a 4-1 win on the road in the first match of the night. Scoreless draw between Oconee County and Jefferson in the boys match last night. Jefferson's girls, who were a state runner-up last year, earned a 4-1 win on the road in the first match of that doubleheader. Brookwood's girls defeated Lanier 6-0. The boys match ended in a 1-1 draw. Savannah Christian's boys took a 2-0 win over Claxton, and the Raiders girls completed the double with a 2-1 win. Both of those games were played at South Georgia Tormenta's new stadium in Statesboro. Love to see them hosting high school soccer action. Brunswick's boys earned a 10-0 win over Brantley County. Kennesaw Mountain's boys earned a 1-0 win over Hillgrove last night. Ty Roldan earned the clean sheet for the Mustangs. The girls' match went to penalties, with Hillgrove getting the win after a 1-1 draw in regulation. That was the nightcap of the doubleheader. I think the lights actually went out during the penalty shootout as well. 5-0 win for the Whitewater boys last night against Ola in Fayetteville. The win takes the Wildcats to 2-0-1 in 2023. Eli Bannister and Jackson Morgan each scored 2 goals in that win for Whitewater. McIntosh's girls moved to 3-1 on the season with a 5-0 win over LaGrange. Lanny Messer scored twice for the Lady Chiefs. Fayette County's girls moved to 3-0 this year with a 4-0 win over Luella, led by Annabelle Orozco's 2 goals. The Lions got some revenge in the boys' match. They won 4-3 in overtime. First win of the year for Luella. Wesleyan's girls won 9-2 over Berkmar last night. Lainey Jerding scored 6 goals of the 9. Katie Triplett added 4 assists for the Lady Wolves. 1-1 draw between the Maynard Jackson and Druid Hills girls last night. Druid Hills boys went on the road last night and won 3-2 over Lovett, a big win for Druid Hills. Maynard Jackson's boys went on the road Monday night, lost 2-0 to another state runner-up last year, Drew Charter. Isri Mendez was named the man of the match in Tift County's 2-0 win over Thomasville Tuesday night. Thanks to our friends from Monday Night Football at WDNN. Here's their scoreboard from Northwest Georgia. Southeast Whitfield, defending state champions, defeated Calhoun on the boys' side 7-1. Diego Ramirez scored twice in the win. The Raiders girls also completed the double. They won 5-0 over Calhoun. Dalton did the double over Cahulla Creek, 5-0 in the boys' match, 4-1 in the girls' game. Northwest Whitfield's girls won 6-1 over Sprayberry. And North Murray, also 2 wins for them, 9-3 in the girls' match, 10-0 in the boys' game over Harrelson. For detailed coverage of the Dalton area, follow Monday Night Football on Facebook and their show on WDNN. New episodes every Monday night in high school season on YouTube. Search for WDNN, and those will air at 8 p.m. I've got a list of active Georgia high school soccer accounts on Twitter. You can follow that as well. If I'm missing your school, please let me know. Follow me, send me a message, and I'll get you added to that list. If you ever have news to publicize, send it my way, either direct message or my emails on most of my accounts as well. Longshoes, where you can find me on social media. Hey, one more score from last week to lead us into our guest coming up after the break. The Commerce Tigers girls, another state runner-up last year, they won 7-2 at home on Friday night against Prince Avenue Christian. The Tigers head coach Scott Tolbert joins us next on Soccer is in Session, presented by Kaiser Permanente.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the GHSA, are the 195,000 high school sports and performing arts students in Georgia. And so we stand, We stand for the runners, debate team members, and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, officials, and adjudicators. We stand for the drummers, football players, and actors. We stand for the golfers, singers, and swimmers. We stand as the national leader and advocate for these essential activities and all who participate in them and make them possible. Because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
Welcome back to Soccer is in Session, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente here at Soccer Down here in the SDH Network. It is time for our in-session interview for the week. And for that, we get to catch up with the head coach of the Commerce High girls soccer team, Scott Tolbert. Scott, thanks for hanging out with us for the in-session interview.
Thank you, John.
All right, so when I was looking at the roster, I noticed that there was some symmetry there. What's it like having one of the most prolific scorers in the state on a roster where you're head coach? And it's Ivy Tolbert, for those that don't know, one of the most prolific scorers in the state last year, triple digits. What's it like coaching your daughter?
I guess it's both a blessing and a curse. There's you can talk to her. It's difficult because you try to talk to her as a coach, but there's always that parent coming out in you when you're attempting to coach your child. It's very difficult for any coach / parent that tries to do it. They're all going to tell you it's probably the most difficult thing you can do, because they will speak to you not as a coach. They will speak to you as their dad. And therein lies the problems most of the time, because they're not going to look to you as a coach. They're looking to you as a dad. And so I try not to do that. I try to look at her as a player and not my child. But the reverse of that is not necessarily how that works out. And so it does get complicated, very complicated.
And at the same time, Commerce, I know the expectations to get deep into a bracket and being there for the last match of the year. I know that those expectations are always there. Coming into this season, what were you looking at when it came to this roster and your class and expectations and the bullseye being there, everything leading into the 23 season?
Offensively, we were there. We got, it's like 99.7% of our offense came back. So, of course, you have Ivy that's coming back. As a junior, we have Chloe Diaz, who had a horrible knee injury a couple of years ago, and she came back for the state championship. That was her first game back, was the state championship last year. So she was quite a trooper and came back and attempted to play in that game, and did well. She played the entire game, even into the overtimes. She's back healthy. We have Kate Hill, who is a phenomenal player, a phenomenal midfielder, who is back. So all of our studs came back. Defensively, we had to rework sort of our back line and our goalkeeper. We lost an all-state goalkeeper. We lost an all-state center back. We lost an all-state outside back. So those are the girls that we were having to replace. Fortunately for us, we're replacing them with girls who have been within our system for years. And basically, we're just, at this point, just sort of plugging in. We have sort of the way we do our center backs is we try to team up a older girl with a younger girl so that they can just sort of take their place. And that's what we're doing this year. We have the younger girl from last year who is now the sort of the stud back there. She's a lot bigger body than what we've had. Very, very fast girl. Our outside backs are very fast. We try to put extremely athletic kids on the back line. And for Class A, sometimes that's difficult when you're you're limited, of course, with our population and limited with the amount of girls that we can pull. And so we do that a little bit differently. It's a lot of times in our division, you'll see some non-athletic girls in the back, and they'll put all their studs up top. We make sure our most athletic, fast girls are in the back to offset what's coming at us. So,
when you look at Class A this year, who are some of the other teams that you specifically keep your eye on that you might be facing down the road when you get into brackets and people filling them out in pen?
For us this year, it's going to be different since the GHSA and their divine knowledge came in and decided to sort of add back private schools and so forth. So when it came to Class A, because we were the ones that basically caught the brunt of that realignment. And so when you look at us, what they did us a little bit of a favor, because they put most of the private schools into Region 6. And so that helped a little bit, because now you're basically, they're eating each other in Region 6. We have Tallulah Falls in our region, which they're going to be a really good program as well. But if you look at the Region 6, I mean, you're going to have Padilla, Atlanta International, Mount Vernon, Mount Pisgah. I mean, all those schools are going to be extremely strong coming out of there. So that's going to be a stud region. You have in our region, Region 8, you'll have us, Tallulah Falls. You have Lamar County in Region 4, which is a really good school. They dropped down from AA. It's a good program. They've got quite a few club players on that team. In Region 5, I think you're going to have Social Circle over there. Now, they did lose a very, very good player last year who graduated and is playing college soccer now, but they also lost like a dozen seniors off that state championship team last year. They've got an excellent coach. Heather Richardson is just phenomenal coach down there. Does a great job. But she's having to replace a lot of very, very strong players on that squad. But they are always going to be tough. In Region 7, which is going to be sort of in that northwest part of the state, you got Armucci, who is always going to be good. They've got because they got a good club program up there in the Rome area. So they'll be tough. As far as other ones, I mean, there's always Claxton and Metter and some of those guys down in South Georgia. But the main ones that we are focusing and how we actually focused our schedule this year was for us to play private schools. And so that's how we started playing much larger schools than us this year. And I dipped in and wanted to start playing private schools so that I could get the girls to get sort of a taste of what that's going to be like, so that we can prep for that second season. And so mainly for us, I'm looking at Region 6 to see what I'm going to have to deal with coming out of there. Now, bracket-wise, we're in a good spot on the bracket because we're on the opposite side of their number 1. That still means I'm going to have to pick up the way it pans out. I'll still have their number 3 in our lower bracket, and then eventually number 2 to get to their number 1. But it beats going in and saying in the second or third round, all right, I'm playing the number 1 team out of Region 6.
Yeah.
So we've looked at it in that may be more of an answer than you wanted, but we sort of look at the really, really big picture here, and then I sort of see where I want to go from there.
So then my last question for you, and thanks for hanging out with us this week. When you look at the soccer community there that is a part of the Commerce community, what's it been like for you to see the community engaged and involved with a team that is always wanting to be deep in a bracket run and chasing a championship?
It's fun. When we started this is still a relatively young program. I actually started my coaching career down in the middle school, and we started sort of down there for a couple of years before they started coaching, or before they started the high school team. And so we just sort of had to matriculate it up into the high school. It was only after our high school team had been operating for a couple of years, that they actually came and asked me if I would, because we were having a lot of success at the middle school, if I would come up and take over the high school program, which I absolutely wanted to, because I knew eventually I would have actually both my daughters on the high school team, in which we did. And then we were able to turn it around pretty quickly at that point. But, having some of the players, like I mentioned, that does help. But it all starts in those younger programs, having a feeder system. And so that's what we've been successful in doing. We've got good coaches down in our middle school levels who are able to continuously bring us good players. The other thing, especially in Class A, is you got to have some club players, and you got to have those in your area. Like for us, our club players actually are out of Atlanta. So we have like Ivy she's at GSA ECNL. You got to have those high-end ECNL players if you're going to make deep runs. And we have several of those on our team. Chloe Diaz, Kate Hill, all those girls. Those are real. When you come from the Power 5 clubs out of Atlanta, you got to have those girls feeding into your system. But as far as a whole, as far as our community, Commerce, they call it the COC for a reason. It's the City of Champions, City of Commerce. And so that's what they expect. And so day one at our meeting, we tell them there's two goals for this team. One, win region. Two, win state. Any deviation from that is not acceptable. And so they know going in, we're going to practice hard every day, and we're going to play hard. And so they know the expectations of playing on a Commerce girls soccer team. It is to win, and it is to take no prisoners. And that's the way we've been running this program for years now. The community likes it. If you win, the community loves you. If you lose, of course, you're the worst person in the world, and they're going to get rid of you. So as long as we're winning, then we're in good shape. And they like the product we put out there. I mean, it's a very fast-paced, very aggressive kind of soccer that we play, and so they like it. We get huge gates coming to watch girls soccer, believe it or not. We're a big draw. This seems kind of funny that you're thinking, who's going to go watch girl high school Class A soccer? But actually, it's a pretty good draw. When we go somewhere, I mean, people pack them in, and we're used to the jeers and the people rooting against us and the signs, and it gets wild sometimes in our little area. So,
and I, as someone who has seen it on the football side, I now get to see it on the football side. So I know exactly what you're talking about. In session interview this week with the girls soccer head coach at Commerce High, Scott Tolbert. Scott, thanks for hanging out with us for the in-session interview. We'll be keeping an eye on you as you chase yet another region and really deep runs into brackets and state championships. Thanks for hanging out with us here on Soccer's in Session.
Thank you, John.
Soccer's in Session brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. We'll be back with more with Jason after this.
Have you noticed bad behavior has become normalized at interscholastic athletic events? Some fans seem angry. They lack civility toward one another. Some even get aggressive and unruly. Time out! What is going on? This has to stop. Let's not forget, school sports aren't just about winning. And they're definitely not an excuse to take your frustrations out on the official or the opponent. They're about teaching lessons like perseverance, respect, and empathy, so students can learn and grow as people, not just as players. We all have a role to play in setting a good example for our students and teaching them these important values. So fans, it's time to step up your game and behave positively at interscholastic athletic events in Georgia.
This message presented by the GHSA and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Welcome back to Soccer is in Session, presented by Kaiser Permanente. Thanks to Scott Tolbert of Commerce High School for taking the time to catch up with John. Excited to see Commerce again this season. I called the state championship game with them and Social Circle last year, and it was one of my favorite games to call from 2022. Ivy Tolbert, absolutely a player to watch, but Chloe Diaz as well. such a big part of that team. They lost her for most of the season last year. It was, as Scott said, really impressive to see her be able to play as much as she did in that state championship game, coming back from injury. But getting her going all season long will be huge for the Tigers, a team to watch this season in Georgia high school soccer. Let's get caught up on some news from both the high school and the college ranks. That's what we do here on Soccer is in Session. Let's start with a few commitments that have been announced. Natalie Liebel of Cambridge High School has committed to play at the University of Memphis. Dunwoody High School midfielder Jonathan Sabata has committed to play at Lee University. The Flames have also signed Jackson Bostrom of Auburn, Georgia. He plays for GSA at the club level. Kenny Namango of Sprayberry has committed to play soccer at the U.S. Naval Academy. Just saw Matthew Nosita last year get drafted from Navy to play for the New York Red Bulls. Maybe Kenny can follow in those boots. Let's get into the college side of things. The Savannah College of Art and Design, SCAD, their women's soccer team announced the commitment of goalkeeper Bethany Ducat of Carmel High School in Indiana. Thomas University has announced a pair of 2023 signees. Alicia McLeod will be making the move to Thomasville from Crawley, England, and Pearl Mortimer will be joining her from Bournemouth, England. West Georgia, they'll be holding their women's soccer ID camp on May 7th in Carrollton. Go to uwgathletics.com for more information. North Georgia is holding their prospect camp on March 19th from 1 to 4 p.m. Reach out to grad assistant coach Jean-Pierre Merlet on Twitter at JPMERLET2 with any questions you might have. Those ID camps, the prospect camps, they're so important if you have a son or daughter who is interested in playing in college and maybe doesn't know where to start the process or just wants to get to know college coaches and what they expect, maybe measure up a little bit against some college talent. As we were told by John Aiken of Oglethorpe, a lot of times the coaches will bring a few of their college players in for that little bit of basis of comparison for both the coaches, but also for the players to kind of see where they stand. These ID camps are really, really important for schools that you are thinking about potentially going to. Very cool to see some outreach from the college side as well. Albany State's women's soccer program, they made a visit over to Brunswick to see some friends of the SDH network, Coastal Outreach Soccer. Great program. They just had a mini pitch built in Brunswick. Atlanta United was a part of that through the GA 100 project. But awesome to see players and coaches interact with the girls in the program and show them that there is that possibility to play at the college level and maybe even get some help in paying for that college level. Georgia State's women's program did the same. They celebrated National Girls and Women in Sports Day with the Inner Atlanta Youth Club. I just love to see this kind of outreach and the interaction between college players, college coaches, and high school or club players who have either considered the possibility of playing college, and for some of them, maybe they haven't considered it, and this might open their mind and open the doors to some possibilities. One more college link as well. Azad Liadi, who played in college at Georgia Southern, was signed to MLS Next Pro Club Huntsville City this week with our friend Jack Collison leading the way over in Alabama. Excited to see Liadi and what he can do at Huntsville City this season in MLS Next Pro. Upcoming matches of importance, we're going to be at the Dungeon in Gainesville on Friday night for one of the many Classicos across the state of Georgia. This one is Johnson and Gainesville. The Knights boys had yesterday off. Last Friday, they won 3-1 at Flowery Branch. Ramon Aguilar had 2 goals in that win. The Red Elephants of Gainesville, they come into the match 3-0 on the boys' side. They defeated Chastity 3-0 last night on the road. Miguel Galavis is leading Gainesville this season with 4 goals. Gainesville's girls come into the match off of a 5-1 win Tuesday night over Chastity. They're 2-1 in 2023. Johnson is looking for their first win of the season. They almost got it on Friday night, losing 1-0 at Flowery Branch. The girls' match kicks off at 5:30. The boys will start at 7:30. You can listen to both games on our free Soccer Down Here app and at soccerdownhere.net. Make sure you're following us on social media at Soccer Down Here. Try to keep you up to date, share some links from the show, and it's a way to interact with all of you who check out Soccer is in Session each week. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente for helping us bring this to you, and we will see you on Friday in Gainesville, the Classico, Johnson and Gainesville. We'll see you then. Mucha plata, y'all.